In Persona 3, the developers craft an immersive narrative that is not only a mere game, but a deep exploration of existentialism, the human condition, and the nature of life and death. At its core, Persona 3 confronts one of the most universal yet unsettling realities: death.
You don't have to save the world to find meaning in life. Sometimes, all you need is something simple, like someone to take care of. I'll keep on living no matter what, so that I can protect you.
Through its character, stories, and mechanisms, the game encapsulates key existential ideas, challenging the player to reflect on the value of life and the search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. One of the most profound motifs in Persona 3 is Momento Mori. Remember that you will die. The phrase itself is ever present in the game, with death looming large in the narrative. Be it through the dark hour, the midnight hour where death manifests itself as monsters, or the impending apocalypse hurled by Nyx, the embodiment of death. The game asks player to reflect on morality, not as distant, abstract concept, but as a constant, unavoidable reality. This philosophy reflects an existential perspective, particularly drawing from thinkers like Martin Heidegger and Jean-Paul Sartre, who emphasize that human existence is defined by the inevitability of death. In Persona 3, this inevitability of the character's confrontation with Nyx serves as a symbolic representation of this truth. The focus is not on avoiding death, but rather on understanding how one should live when faced with it. Existential angst, or the sense of dread and anxiety that comes from awareness of our finite existence, persuade the game's atmosphere. The Dark Hour itself, a hidden time that only a select few experience, represents the isolation of dread. The protagonists and their friends, member of the Seas, are tasked with fighting shadows during this time, mirroring the human struggle against the darker existential fears of life. Each character within Seas represents a unique response to the existential crisis of confronting death. For instance, Aegis, the android, embodies a yearning for purpose and identity. Her arc demonstrates that meaning is not something that can be engineered or imposed from the outside, but something that is chosen and constructed through relationships and experience. Her development from an emotionless machine to someone who actively seeks to protect and care for others highlight the Sartre's concept of existence preceding essence, where humans must define themselves through actions and choices. Despite the overarching theme of death, Persona 3 offers a counterbalance in its emphasis on relationships and personal connection. The social link system, where the protagonist builds bonds with other characters, serves as a metaphor for the existential belief that life's meaning is created through personal relationship and shared experience. The protagonist's strength in combat is directly tied to the bonds they form, underscoring the game's message that life, while transient, gains significance through love, friendship, and empathy. This echoes existentialist views, particularly those of Albert Camus, who argued that even in an absurd and meaningless universe, humans can find joy and purpose in simple acts of kindness and connections. Through each social link, the protagonist not only helps others confront their own struggles and fear, but also reinforces the idea that life may end. The impact of one's action and relationship endures. In keeping with the existential philosophy, Persona 3 places a great emphasis on the notion of personal agency. The player, as the protagonist, is constantly making choices, whether in battle, in dialogues, or how they spend their days. These choices carry weight not only in the gameplay, but in the thematic narrative, reflecting Sartre's idea that humans are condemned to be free. That is, with freedom comes the responsibility to create meaning in a world that offers no inherent direction. The game's structure, which mirrors the passage of time and the cynical nature of life, further emphasizes that meaning is found in day-to-day decisions. By balancing daily life with fighting shadows, Persona 3 illustrates the balance between the mundane and the profound, showing that how we live and interact with others shape the quality of our existence. The accumulation of the game's philosophy is its final confrontation with Nyx, who represents death itself. Unlike a traditional villain, Nyx cannot be defeated. Death is inevitable. However, the protagonist's ultimate sacrifice to seal Nyx and protect humanity from destruction can be interpreted as a symbolic acceptance of mortality. In choosing to sacrifice themselves, the protagonist demonstrates that while death cannot be overcome, one can still live a life meaning by acting selflessly and protecting those they care for. This ending ties into existential thought. In Camus' essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, he points that although life is absurd and ultimately ends in death, humans must continue to strive, to live, and to find meaning in the struggle itself. The protagonist's final act is not a denial of death, but an affirmation of life, emphasizing that even in the face of inevitable mortality, human life is still worth living.